Jake, the science guy. Yes?
GMO, what is that?
Genetically modified organisms.
Are they good or bad?
Well, GMOs suck.
Oh, okay. Who said that?
I said that. You may know me as Jake Nye, not the science guy, Bill Nye, but the science dude, Bill Nye's brother. You may be wondering at my lab coat, which is only a bedsheet. That's because they cut funding for our science. But I'm here to teach you about GMOs, genetically modified organisms, and why they suck. We are going to go to my science laboratory where we do science. Onwards. Come on in to my office. Oh, my papers are everywhere. That's what happens when you do science, though. So, you're here to learn about GMOs, right? Oh, well, I see then. Well, we should learn about the environmental effects of GMOs upon the environment. First of all, some people argue that GMOs could solve world hunger. But the fact is, we actually already have more than enough food for all the people in the world. But most of it just isn't distributed right. And where are they going to? GMOs, corporations, are the ones that are hoarding all that food. So, over the 20 years with all the GMO food and all the corporations, farmers' yields have actually fallen by around 3 to 4% on average in just developed countries. Now, if you're talking about countries in Africa, it can be as high as 20 to 30%, which is a statistically huge drop. And when you really think about it, there's the nutrient cycle and the water cycle, all upon which requires weeds and regular plants, but using our genetically modified organisms, those nutrients don't transfer right. That water doesn't transfer right, so there's a shortage of it. So all the environment and all the other plants and things, they don't like GMOs, so they naturally want to get rid of them because they are a parasitic growth upon the environment. And speaking of individual farms, they have to give all their seed to food giants like Monsanto, and after they do that, they lose their farms. So when you think about it, now there's only a few massive seed companies in the world that can spike prices no problemly, and once they're done that, we all have to pay for it or we don't get our crops. That's not good. And not only can they spike prices, they can use any type of chemical they want, because currently under the Food Act there is not very many restrictions on genetically modified organisms. So they are allowed to use new genes that could contain herbicides or pesticides, but since they're not sprayed, they're genetically modified into the plant. They're not said or noticed, but they're there, slowly killing the environment and slowly killing us. Getting down to the numbers, there's been about $6.9 billion on average, say, in the last 10 years earned for our plants. And do you know how much of that has come from regular plants that we eat? $4.3 billion. That's over 50%, and people are complaining that all our regular food people just won't cut it. But when you look at the numbers, more than half the food is regular. And there's a huge reason why those numbers are so huge. It's because genetically modified plants, granted, are very strong against the thing that they're genetically modified against. So, put it this way. If you have a plant strong against drought, it can survive drought really well. But now when bugs come, since it's genetically modified, all its best attributes are against drought. And now it can't. It's just not physically able to resist those bugs. But a regular plant is moderately strong against both things, and so has a better chance of surviving both compared to the genetically modified one, which just can't handle those insects. Soil erosion and pesticide use is also increased in recent years due to GMOs, because although they may be resistant to pesticides, the weeds around them aren't yet. But that's changing as well. As we continue to use GMOs, it also affects the plants around it. There's now currently what we call super weeds, which are resistant to many herbicides and pesticides and are easily choking out natural vegetation and becoming an invasion species. Which leads me to my next point. Since seeds can easily cross-pollinate each other with no regards for their genetic makeup, that really infringes upon something called patent laws, something that can get touchy, something that my assistant will talk to you about.
It's a common story to hear about farmers getting sued by large companies for having patented seeds in their crop. But are these farmers thieves? No. So how did the contamination occur in their fields? Jacob?
The wind, animals, water, even people can move pollen and seeds to other plants. Once this happens, cross-pollination occurs, and suddenly the genetically modified plant is in the unsuspecting farmer's field. Without knowing it, the farmer has quote-unquote stolen patented property and has to pay a lot about it. Probably more than any of them can afford. News reporter Lydia has the story of a 74-year-old Canadian farmer.
Thank you, Jake. The science guy. A man named Percy Schmeiser, 74 years old, got sued by Monsanto after his fields got contaminated by their patented GMOs. Monsanto wanted not only the profits from the entire crop, but the technology cost, and on top of that, $1 million in court. The court agreed that Monsanto could take the crop, and this opened the doors for the company to sue so many other farmers. Monsanto. That doesn't seem right for big companies to be able to sue people when it wasn't even their fault. God, I wonder, is it okay to change or alter life?
No! There's no way GMOs are good. They are totally against all the laws of nature. There's absolutely no way, no how. And I should know this, because I've been around a real long time.
Well, is it okay to own something, like a plant?
Own a plant? Well, you can use a plant, but to own it is to own life, and can't ask yourself, can you really own life? Or does life own you?
Okay.
So, it all comes down to the question, do we really want GMOs to be patented? The answer is quite obvious, and it's right in front of us. It's even phrased in the question. Patenting something needed for life is wrong, socially, economically, religiously, environmentally. No matter how you cut it, it's just not right.
I learned so much from this.
So, there you have it. GMOs and patenting. A world issue, easily solvable. Jake the Science Guy, signing out. Jake, the Science Guy. Yes?